Hello everyone. Hope all are doing good in this pandemic situation. Hope your families and everyone relatives are fine. And I'm very happy that this is the second chance for me to interact with you guys after the first year. And today uh, we will start our third year first semester Unix programming subject. This is the first class, and let us start our first day. So today we will going to discuss the following few topics, like what is an operating system, what are the popular operating systems available, and what is Unix, and then what is the history, and then some features of Unix, and the major differences and similarities between Unix and Windows operating system we are going to discuss today. So basically, we all know that what is an operating system. So each and everyone will have I mean Android phone, or a desktop or a laptop in your home. So nowadays everyone is familiar what is an operating system. Generally, people will say that operating system is nothing but a mediator between the computer hardware and the user. So the user will interact with the computer hardware, or ask the computer hardware to do some work with the help of the operating system. Generally people says that. So in this picture you can see what is the role of operating system in a general desktop or a laptop. So it performs several items like shown in the figure. Like, it recognizes and installs peripheral devices. Like, peripheral devices means like a USB is also a peripheral device, a RAM, external RAM, or a external hard disk. These are all peripheral devices. So it automatically recognizes them and installs the required software which is required. So similarly, manages files and folders. So we all know that. So it will, as we have some different types of partitions in our system: C drive, D drive, E drive, F drive. So now those folders and files will be managed by the operating system only. Similarly, it also shares out the system memory, because nowadays all systems are multi user and multitasking operating systems. The same memory may be shared by several users or several devices in the system. So the memory management is also taken care by the operating systems. We need to remember that. Similarly, it also handles system errors and alerts users. So whenever an operation is done, if you are getting some error, it will display some error message. So this process also handled by the operating system only. And security, of course, the operating system will also responsible for the security of the systems and files which are available in the system. And also it allows software to communicate with the hardware. So this is the main definition of an operating system, because it is allows us to communicate with the hardware. This is the main definition of this operating system. And similarly, it is also responsible to move data to and from the hard disk. So whenever you are storing some data, you need to transfer the data from our file to hard disk. Similarly, whenever you are accessing data, that means the data is transferring from hard disk to some other device. So this is the storing and retrieving data is also responsible by the operating system only. And similarly, loads and runs other software applications. So whenever you are buying a system, you need to have some sort of application software. So all the things will be installed in the desktop. So installation of those softwares and their applications, and loading of those softwares, everything is handled by the operating system only. And handles inputs and outputs. Of course, the input device and output device also need to communicate with the hardware and the processor. So those communications and those commands for communications are all handled by the operating system only. So this is a broad idea about an operating system. So whatever the operating system it may be, but the role of the operating system is similar for everyone, every operating system. And coming to the next one, so these are the popular operating systems. I think all of you are familiar with all these operating systems like Linux. So now we are going to study about this Linux and Unix, all this stuff, and MS disk operating system, that is called MS DOS, which is the oldest operating system. And similarly Ubuntu, we all know that in our computer labs also we are using the Ubuntu operating system. Similarly BlackBerry, so you all know that BlackBerry mobiles, they uses this BlackBerry operating system. Similarly Windows, very famous. And Apple, so Apple uses Mac, that is called Mac OS, Macintosh operating system, Apple company uses. Similarly all mobile phones nowadays uses Android operating system. So these are the some of the very familiar operating systems that nowadays we are using. And coming to this Unix operating system and its history, we need to see some points regarding this. So generally Unix is a CUI operating system. So let us know what is a CUI. So I think you all know that what is GUI. GUI is graphical user interface. We all know that. But Unix is a CUI operating system. CUI stands for character user interface. So what is the difference between character user interface and graphical user interface? We'll understand in the next slides and next classes also. But as I have already told, that operating system is an interface between hardware and application softwares. It serves as the operating system for all types of computers, including single user, personal computers, and workstations, multi-user microcomputers, mini computers, mainframes, and supercomputers. So what I mean to say is the Unix operating system can be compatible with any type of computers nowadays we are using. So almost with approximately 20 million computers nowadays we are running on Unix operating system, and these computers are used by more than 100 million people using these systems. And the success of Unix is due to many factors, like its portability, wide range of machines, its adaptability and simplicity, the wide range of tasks that can perform, it's multi-user and multitasking, and it's suitable for networking. That is the most important thing. It is very 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 good operating system for networking purpose. So these are the some of the things we need to keep in mind while we are studying Unix operating system. Generally the history, when you are going to study the history of the operating system, we need to discuss few points. Like, before the development of Unix operating system at AT&T Bell Labs, we all know that what is AT&T Bell Labs, a software team led by Ken Thompson, Dennis Ritchie, and Red Candy. These are the three scientists who are working on a project known as Multics, Multics. Multics is a project developed by three scientists known as Ken Thompson, Dennis Ritchie, and Red Candy. So what is this Multics? So Multics is stands for Multi Information Computing System. So Multics is Multi Information Computing System. So what is this? What is the purpose of this project? So the main aim of this project is to share the same data by n number of users at the same time. So again repeating, once again repeat the point. The main aim of this Multics project is to share the same data by n number of users at the same times. So that means a data can be shared by n number of users but at the same time. So it is the project which is developed to meet this aim. But the problem with Multics is, we are saying that it can share the same data by n number of users, but the n value is nothing more than 2. So that means by using this Multics project, 2 users can share the same data at same time. Only 2 users can do that. So after this Multics in 1969, the same group has developed another operating system known as Unix. That is not Unix, it is Unics, Unix. So here Unix operating system stands for Uniplexed Information Computing System. So Unix is nothing but, so Unics means Uniplexed Information Computing System. So what is the difference between this Multics and Unix is, Multics is meant for only 2 users, whereas Unix is meant for 100 users. So 100 users can share the same data at same time. That is the big difference between Multics and Unix. But again, in Unix there is a problem that this Unix is developed by using an assembly language. So we all know that what is an assembly language. It is a very low level language. It uses mnemonics to write programming, which is not understood by many of the scientists. So because it is a low level language, it uses mnemonics, so nobody can understand what it was written and how to develop it. So what they did is, in 1973, after 4 years of developing Unix, they have rewritten the same Unix in C language and named it as Unix. Now whatever the things which are using are all derived from this Unix operating system, that is Unix. So history means only three things we need to remember. First thing is Multics, so which is multi information computing system, which is designed for only 2 users to share same data at same time. So after that, some development has been made and they have developed a Unix Unics, which is intended for 100 users. Then comes Unix, which is developed in C language to share the same data at same time. Okay, this is the thing we need to remember. Then next thing we will discuss is, what are the features of Unix, why Unix is so popular operating system nowadays. So we need to discuss, and there are certain features are available and few features we will discuss. Those are multi-user capability, and it has multitasking capability and programming capability, its portability, communication, that is called electronic mail, communication means electronic mail, security, open system, system calls, and help facility. These are the 9 features we will going to discuss today. We will discuss one by one. The first one is multi-user. So first of all, let us understand what is a multi-user. So multi-user operating system means more than one user shares the same system resources. As we know that system has several resources like hard disk, memory, printer, software, that means application software, let's etc. So many things are available for a system as a resources. So these resources can be shared by different users at the same time. So a memory, if two users are using the same system, the memory can be shared between them. Similarly, a printer can be shared between them. Similarly, something like a joystick can be shared between them. So these are the multi user facilities or features, we can call it as. And then the second feature is multitasking. So simple, it is also very simple. Multitasking means so it means that it is capable of carrying out more than one job at a same time. So here it is multi-user means more than one user can work, and multitasking means more than one job at a time. It allows you to type a program in its editor while simultaneously execute some other command, and say for example doing some sorting or searching or something, anything you can do. Similarly, that means suppose if you are going to copy a file which is 100 GB file, we want to copy from one file to another folder. So to copy a file of size 100 GB, it will take some time. So what we can do is, we will activate that copying execution. That means we will drag that file from one folder to another folder. So meanwhile it is copying, we can minimize that and we can do any other thing, like you can watch a movie, or you can type some program, or you can do internet surfing, whatever you want to do. So we are doing two things at the same time. That means we are copying, at the same time we are doing another thing also. So this is the process is called multitasking. Then comes the next feature is programming facility. This is the feature most operating systems doesn't have: programming facility. As we know that with windows you cannot do any programming. So in windows you will use some languages like C++ or Java, something like that. We will use those things and we can write programs, but only using windows you cannot write any programs. But Unix operating system provides a concept known as a shell. So what is this shell, what is the use of this shell, and uh, how many types of shells available in Unix? All these things will have a separate unit, that is fourth unit of this Unix programming. We will discuss in detail about these shells and everything, and programming. We'll discuss everything in detail. For the time being, you just remember that shell works as a powerful programming language in Unix. So it has two things, like it has commands, also it has keywords. Similarly, as in C language we have 32 keywords, here also in Unix we have some separate keywords available. And with the help of these keywords and with the help of those commands, we will write programs directly in Unix. I can write directly programs in Unix, right? So this is the programming facility it has. And the next one is portability. What is this portability? So one of the main reasons for the universal popularity of the Unix is that it can be ported to almost any computer system. So what is meant by porting? So that is, you can use the same Unix in any of the system available in the world. That means the Unix is compatible with something like 8085 processor to supercomputers. So the same Unix can be run on a processor, the same Unix can run on a mainframes, the same operating system can be run on a IBM supercomputer. So it can be compatible with any of the process available nowadays in the world. So which is a very powerful feature of the Unix, whereas Windows and other operating systems are not like that. They are not portable, which is very important thing we need to remember. Then the next feature is communication. It is also one of the unique feature available in Unix. So Unix provides electronic mail. So electronic mail without internet. This is the most important thing you need to remember. The Unix will provide electronic mail without internet facility. That means the communication may be within the network of a single main computer or between two or more such computer networks. The mail can be sent. The mail may contain information about your files, information about your images, or any sort of things you can send within a network. So that means if you assume that our CP lab is a network where you all are working with 60 computers. So among you 60 people, you can send mails from one person to another person. Only thing you need to know is the username or the login ID of that person. If you know the login ID of that person, you can directly send a mail. The user means the user can easily exchange mail, data, programs through the network. You need not to have any internet facility. Okay, this is again a wonderful and very powerful feature of the Unix. And again, the next one is security. Yes, this is very important. This is one of the feature. Why? Because one of the feature, because Unix is nowadays famous because of this feature only, right? So security, as you can see, nowadays whoever is using laptops or desktops and using the Windows operating system, generally people uses antivirus softwares, because there is a those systems are very prone for virus attacks. So definitely when you are using a Windows operating system, you need to have an antivirus, and you need to be careful while installing any other softwares or any other sources from internet or any other sources. If you want to install something, you need to be very very careful. That is thing with Windows. But in Unix, you need not to have any type of antivirus software, because it is very very secured operating system. It provides security at 3 levels. So means if anyone wants to crack a file, he has to pass through these 3 levels to, I mean, to cross the security. So at the first level, it is providing security at the first level by assigning logins and password for each user. So whoever wants to use the Unix operating system has to have one login ID, similarly one password. Without these login IDs, passwords, he cannot enter into the operating system or the normal desktop. This is the first level of security. And when it comes to the second level of security, each file in Unix will have 3 permissions: read, write, and executable permissions. So every file in the Unix, every file will have these 3 permissions. So read permission, as you know that what is a read permission. So if you give read permission to your file, it means that anyone can read the information which is available in your file. That is the read permission. If you give write permission to a file in your system, that means that anyone can write means update the contents of the file. So that is the second permission, write. Or else if you give executable permission, means anyone can update, read, or execute, I mean anyone can execute that file. If it is executable file, it can be easily executed. These are the 3 permissions each and every file will have in Unix. So that means any user or the owner of the file can give permissions. Like if he don't want others to update his file, he can give only read permission. He may ignore the write and execute permissions for the file, so that no one can write or execute that file. Similarly, if he wants to give only write permission, don't want to give read and execute permissions, he can do that. So any file you can give 3 permissions, you can give 1 permission, or you can give any 2 permissions, you can do that. So this is the second level of security provided by the Unix. This is also very very robust method of giving security. And at the third level, it is called encoding our files. So while if you are transferring a file from one system to another system, or if you are copying a file from one system to another system, the contents of the file will be encrypted means they will be converted into a different format. So the format which is not understandable or not readable by anyone, this is called encryption. Again, I am saying here, there is a subject known as cryptography and network security in your computer science engineering. It may comes in your next semester or in the 4th year, which is very very interesting subject. You will know what is encryption, what is decryption, what are the keys, what are the algorithms used to encrypt and secure the data. All the things you will learn in that subject. But at this moment, encryption is nothing but converting a file format from one format to another. Means the contents of the files will be converted to a format such that those formats cannot be understood by any others. So once you want to get back to your original content, you need to decrypt it. Decrypt means you need to again convert the unreadable format to readable format. This is the things happens in transferring or copying a files. So at these 3 levels of security, because of these 3 levels of security, no one can hack your files or information. Okay. The next one is open system. So again, this is also very important thing. So open system means the source code for the Unix system, and not just the executable code, it is made available to users and programmers free of cost. So the Unix operating system can be downloaded from the internet. You can modify it, you can enjoy it, or you can develop your own operating system also. Because of this, many people have been able to adapt the Unix system in different ways, and because of this openness led to introduction of wide range of new features and versions customized in special needs. It is true, because when the three scientists have developed Unix is, as I said earlier, CUI means character user interface. So whatever the things you want to do in Unix, you need to enter commands. So generally in Windows operating system, if you want to copy a file, you simply drag the file into the destination folder, it will be copied. But whereas in Unix operating system, if you want to copy a file, you need to run a command like cp file1 file2. So that means the file1 will be copied to file2, then only the file will be copied. So that is called character user interface. So you need to enter a character for each command or each instruction. Whereas in GUI, graphical user interface, you will simply use graphics so that you can drag, drop, delete something, whatever you want to do. And this is CUI is Unix is CUI based, CUI method, that means character user interface operating system. Because it is freely available, so many developers has downloaded it, they have modified it, and these new operating systems like Ubuntu, Fedora, Macintosh, these are all flavors of Unix. These are all derived from the Unix operating system only. Nowadays, whatever the operating system Ubuntu we are using, it is also a graphical user interface. You can directly drag and drop files in that. They have developed and converted those character user interface into GUIs. Okay, because it is freely available, they are doing that. Whereas Microsoft Windows, you need to buy the license. It is not freely available, and whoever thinks that we are using free of cost, it is all pirated. So many features are not available. And the next one is system calls. This is another feature. So before discussing anything about system call, we need to understand first what is a system call. So system call has another name known as interrupt. So generally interrupt means disturbing something. Like when we are using Unix operating system in a personal computer, generally a processor is doing something. For example, a processor is copying one file which is 100 GB of size to another destination. So if it is doing that work, so what we can do is we can send a system call. As I said, system call is nothing but an interrupt. So we can send an interrupt signal to the processor and ask it to suspend its operation. That means you can now just stop for some time this copying operation, just stop for some time. I'm going to give you another task. You first complete that one. After completing the subtask, you come back and resume the copying. That is the thing will happen. So similarly, here also there are hundreds of system calls available in Unix. Each system call is designed to do a particular task. Like a system call can open a file, another system call can write into a file, a system call can execute a program, a system call can change the priority of processes, getting time and date of the system, updating time and date of the system. These are all the things we can do with system calls. So there are hundreds of system calls available in Unix, and you can use whatever the required task you want to perform. You can use respect to system call to do that. This is the thing we can do with the system calls. And finally, help facility. Again, it is also very a unique feature in the Unix operating system. So this is help facility means, because Unix uses so many commands, it is very very difficult to remember all the commands at a time, because there are hundreds of commands available in Unix. We cannot remember all of them. So if at any moment, if you have any doubt with any command, for example, if you know the name of the command, for example, echo is a command in Unix, and you don't know what is the use of it, so you can simply type man followed by the command name echo. So whenever you type man followed by a command, so it will displays the uses of the command, it will displays the syntax of the command, it will displays the options available with that command, and also how to use it. All the things will be displayed on the screen. So man is nothing but manual of everything. So this is the help we are getting in Unix. So whatever you have, if you have any doubts with any of the commands in Unix, whenever you want to clear it, you can simply type man followed by the command name. So whenever you type that, you will get all the information about that command, and you can simply understand what is the use and everything you can understand with that. So this is the another feature of the Unix operating system. So these are the main features we have discussed till now, and moving to the next topic is the major differences and similarities of Unix and Windows operating systems. So these are the another important thing we need to consider before going anything forward. So let us first discuss about the similarities. First of all, there are very few similarities between Unix and Windows. Those are both are multi-user operating systems, as we have discussed that any number of users can work simultaneously on the system, and similarly both are multitasking capability. So any number of tasks can be performed simultaneously. These are the similarities. And coming to the differences, this is very important. So the first difference is Unix is process based, and whereas Windows is thread based. So what do you mean by process? So to understand this, we need to understand what is a process. So process, we can define a process as a program under execution. So whenever you write a program, and if it is going to execute it or under execution, it is called a process. So in simple words, you can say that every task is a process. So in Unix, a task will be treated as a process and it will be executed. But in Windows, what happens is it is thread based, means it is also called process thread based model. Process thread based, not simply, you cannot call it as a thread based, it is called as a process thread based. That means in Windows also every task is treated as a process, but that process will be subdivided into threads. So small parts will be divided, every process will be divided into small parts, and every part is called as a thread. So every thread will be executed, and finally the results of every thread will be combined to get the original result. That is happens in Windows operating system. And the second one is, whenever you send a request in Unix, the request will be created as a process. But in Windows, it will receive all the requests, and all the similar requests will be under one process only. So if you have 1,000 requests in Windows operating system, it may be processed under a single, may be grouped under a single process. So you will definitely have a one process ID. But whereas in Unix, if you send 100 requests, definitely there will be 100 processes, and every process will have separate IDs, so that you can easily understand or recognize them. And the third one is, there is no limit for number of users. Of course, Unix can be worked with any number of users, but whereas Windows, you all know that we need to purchase for single user, 2 users, 3 users, 4 users, we need to purchase Windows. Otherwise we cannot use Windows operating system. So there is a limit on Windows, but there is no limit on Unix. And continuing this, the other differences are, Unix is open system, as we are already discussed that this is freely available, so anyone can download it and use it. But Windows is not open, it is closed. And Unix is portable, means, as I told you, that Unix can work with any type of computers. It can work from the least to the supercomputers. Any computer is compatible, but Windows is not compatible with all the systems. And similarly, it has programming facility, but Windows don't have any programming facility. And it is CUI based, that means character user interface based model, and Windows is graphical user interface. And this is the difference which is stated earlier, but nowadays there is not much difference between these two in the graphical users. Both are similar, like both are graphical user interfaces only. And the next one is, it is not user friendly, whereas Windows is very friendly. Yes, it's true. Unix is a bit difficult to learn than Windows. It is 100% true because, as I said, in Unix, if you want to do anything, you need to enter a command. Without any command, without knowing the usage of commands in Unix, you cannot perform anything. Similarly, if you want to write any shell programming, that means like want to write any program in Unix, also you need to have all you need to remember all the commands which are required to write a program. So it is a bit difficult, whereas Windows, yes, of course, for everything there is a graphic, so you can simply delete or insert something, whatever you want to do, you can use just the graphics and do that task. And similarly, the last difference is the number of vendors for Unix are more, like Red Hat Linux, we will call it as Red Hat Linux. There he is it is one of the vendors. Similarly, IBM is also a vendor of Unix, and HP is also similarly. There are so many companies which are offering like vendors of Unix, whereas Windows, which has only one vendor, who is none other than Microsoft. So only Microsoft is the vendor of Windows, and whereas Unix have several vendors. So these are the topics which we have covered in today's first session. Hope you have enjoyed and understood everything. And if you have any doubt regarding today's um, class or discussion, you can just type your doubt in the comment box, so that I will get back to you and clear your doubt. And I also request you to download this video or this presentation, so that you will have the running notes with you. No need to prepare any notes. And similarly, I will also share you the complete notes once the first unit is completed. I will give you the lecture notes also on this first unit, so don't worry, it is with me already. So hope you are enjoyed, and we'll get back to you tomorrow with the second session. Okay, thank you.